Hello, Eastridge Chapel class. It is Easter 2021. As such, and appropriately, our conversation today is going to be solely on the resurrection of Jesus. I'm going to dive straight in. We're going to be in Luke chapter 24 today. I want to dive in because honestly, there's really just one sentence that I want to dwell on. So let's get to it. I'm in Luke chapter 24. I'm going to be reading beginning in verse 1. But on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared. And they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they went in, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were perplexed about this, behold, two men stood by them in dazzling apparel. And as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, the men said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified, and on the third day rise." And they remembered his words. And returning from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11 and to the rest. So a group of women has come to tend to Jesus's body after his crucifixion. They don't find Jesus there, and instead they find a couple of angels. The angels tell the women he's not here. Today is Easter. If you are at Eastridge, we're focusing on the resurrection for our classes and for our service. You're going to get a big look at the resurrection story today and the application of it in our lives, and this being the foundational piece of Christianity as a whole. But in this video, for just the purposes of this video, because doing video content gives us the ability to maybe do things a little differently than we might normally do them on a Sunday, I want to focus on one single aspect in the exchange that we just read. And that aspect comes in verse 5. In this verse, we get the words of an angel to a group of women seeking Jesus. But I also think that we get a sentence that the entire world needs to hear right now. If you go to Amazon and you look up self-help books, there are thousands, tens of thousands of them. Many of them with bad language in the title. I don't know why that's like a popular thing to do right now, but that's the new thing apparently. But you find self-help books everywhere. Why? Why do you find self-help books? And Amazon is a good example of that now in our current moment, but it's always been that way. There's always been a big market for self-help stuff. Dr. Phil's have always been around. Somebody who can help people live a happier and better life. Why? Why are we as human beings, why are we so drawn to self-help? I think the answer is because people are intrinsically designed to be searching. We're seeking by our very nature. Throughout human history, this has been true. We're always seeking. You see it in a lot of different moments in our collective history. But regardless of your background for just a minute, regardless of your belief system for just a minute, I think if I say we are a seeking people, by our genetics, by our DNA, there's something in us that wants to seek for deeper meaning, for deeper value, for deeper purpose. I think most people would agree with that statement. I know that our culture's changed a lot, but we're still seeking, we're still searching. We want to be loved, to be valued, to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. As Christians, we believe that we were designed in the image of God, and we believe that the design of God is perfect. One of the most effective tools of Satan from the Christian perspective is to convince us to use our design for destructive purposes by removing God from the middle of it. And as a culture, I think sometimes we've collectively adopted that approach. I want to explain what I mean. We were designed with an intrinsic desire to define good and evil, and then to align ourselves with things that we believe bring good into the world. We feel most alive. We feel most complete when we're battling evil on the side of righteousness and good. For just a minute, we're not talking spiritually for just a minute, just as human beings, we feel better when we're fighting against evil on the side of righteousness and good. We were designed to intrinsically understand that there are forces at work in the world that are bigger than us. That's one of the reasons why we're so prone to conspiracy theories, is because we are designed to intrinsically understand that there are forces that we don't see that are bigger than us that are at work. We were designed to come alive and to feel threatened when we see injustice and when we see victimization. We were designed to commit ourselves, not just to the ideology of good things, but to the things that we believe bring good things into the world, the entities that we believe bring good into the world. We were designed to align ourselves with those entities. All of this design makes perfect sense in the context of God. When God is the center that we attach to, and Jesus is the good that comes into the world, then all of these natural qualities that I just described align. And not only are we happier, we're more compassionate with other human beings. We're good for the world. We're not destructive in that state. When aligned with God, we see that true evil is rooted in a spiritual battle. We see humans as the victims of the influence of evil in the world. We don't view them as evil in and of themselves. Our job as those who have come to know Christ is to show mercy and compassion as God has shown us, and to reach the lost, not to attack and destroy people. Our fight is a spiritual battle. It's not an earthly battle. Our victory comes not from destroying our fellow man, but from saving our fellow man. You see how this design works really well? These characteristics are built into our design. They're in our DNA because we were designed to join the spiritual battle. And we were designed to do it on the side of good. We were designed to seek God and then to help other people do the same. We were designed to be passionate. And when God is the center of our focus, everything else aligns really, really well. These characteristics are really powerful. Now, it's been a slow process, but our culture has been weaponizing these parts of our design for a long time by removing God as the centerpiece. The angel in Luke 24 that I just read asks the women, "Why do you seek the living amongst the dead?" I think that's what we're doing now. We seek meaning, but we're looking in dead places to find it. Religion, culturally, is largely considered antiquated. Belief in God is not sophisticated. Maybe it's not culturally relevant. Maybe that's a word that will apply to it. People who grew up in faithful families, they go to school, or they look around the modern cultural landscape of what's considered valid, and they see Christianity is no longer really viewed as a socially acceptable platform for a belief system. That progression has sped up a lot lately. Christianity it's considered uneducated in a lot of circles, superstition, even oppressive in some circles. Christianity is painted as outdated thinking, and it's replaced by relativism or a general commitment to self and to justice, but only justice as defined by the people that I personally agree with. The culture at large has removed God from the center, but we're still left with all these pesky parts of our design. We still seek to define good and evil. We still have a passion to fight for good. We still feel most alive when we're engaged in that fight. We still want to commit ourselves to things that we believe bring good into the world. We still want to align with entities of good. We still believe that there are forces at work that are bigger than us. But in our culture, there's no God to direct these things at. So instead, we direct them at things like our politics and like our culture wars. We cling to identity politics because we desperately want meaning, but we've removed finding meaning in God as an option, so we have to find it anywhere else. So we point our design, these really powerful, beautiful parts of our design, at anything that resembles meaning. We're constantly seeking the living amongst the dead. You can see it in our language and the way we describe things. Listen to the words that we use when we talk about opposing political or social views. Good and evil is just the start of that conversation. We use religious language to describe the roles and to describe the opposing belief systems in our culture today. We define good and evil forces. There are people attached to each one of those movements. Our candidate or one candidate or party is seen as put in the place of God, and then the other party is placed in the role of Satan. The ideology that goes with these parties is considered the word. They're flexible and changes constantly, but it's still considered the word. They're saviors of these different movements. They have names that we use. There are entities attached to each one of these movements. There's movements and organizations and news channels and social media platforms that are attached to each one of these movements. And they're the saviors. They're the ones that are going to show us the way. They're the ones who are going to lead us to heaven. And heaven in our current culture is broadly defined as my specific social and political ideology being accepted as the norm. And through that lens, everyone who agrees with you is committed to the noble fight. And everyone who agrees with the other side is part of the evil army, and they must be destroyed. Through that lens, you're not allowed to see some things you like in various political opinions. No, because this is holy now. So saying that I see your point, I disagree with you, but I see your point, is akin to saying, well, I disagree with Satan overall, but he made some good points. We can't do that. So true commitment means a true commitment to not only fighting for good, but for destroying evil. And the other political or social perspective is evil. It's all or nothing in the fight we're in right now. Lies are the things that hurt my side, and truth is anything that helps it. The things that really hurt my side, that's misinformation or that's propaganda. And what's weird is that doing this, investing in this way, finding meaning in political ideology or in social wars, cultural wars, trying to find meaning for your life in those places, weirdly, kind of makes us feel alive for a bit. Like we're accepted, like we are a part of something bigger than ourselves, but it's empty and it's destructive, and you find yourself on a hamster wheel where no matter how angry you get, how much change you want, there's always something more to be angry about. There's always more change to want. And so there's this empty hole inside of you that never really gets filled. The reason for that is because you're misusing this really beautiful part of your design. You were designed to be passionate. You were designed to seek righteousness, to fight for good, to oppose evil. But you were never designed to point those traits at a particular political affiliation or a cultural norm. But that's where we are. Politics, our culture war, has become our societal religion. We're constantly seeking the living amongst the dead. Today is Easter. The day that we as Christians are intentional about reflecting on the resurrection of Jesus. It's the day for us to remember that we already have hope and meaning, and we already have purpose, and that we need to respond to our remembrance the way the women at the tomb did. I'm going to read again verses 8 and 9. And they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11 and to the rest. Christians, today is a day to celebrate. Today is a day to remember that you found more meaning and more value than could ever be found in 1,000 culture wars or election cycles. You found life amongst the dead. Step away from all the places that are vying for your emotional investment today. Social media, politics, social warfare, they all want the same thing from you. They all want to get you emotionally invested to make you useful for their particular ends. Give that emotional investment today to Jesus. Remember who you are, remember what you found, and then go tell others. Why do you seek the living amongst the dead? That's not where he is.